A teacher comes around to the kid the first time, looks over the cubby walls, and asks him, "How are you doing today?" And the kid sort of half nods and says, "Fine," but in a way that's more of a grunt than a word, because the kid has walked in late again and looks very tired and as though he had walked miles to get here. He hasn't, the teacher knows. Kids don't really walk to school anymore. However, they do get up before dawn sometimes to get their younger brothers and sisters dressed and fed and out the door, and or to catch an early bus themselves that they have to take to get to a city bus transfer center where they wait for almost an hour to get on the bus that will take them eventually to somewhere more near school. A school that their parents will get in trouble with the court if the kid is not at every day by 7:55. The kid will usually listen to music on dollar store earbuds and send emojis to their friends on other buses. The parent who is asleep at these dawn hours because they work overnight. A teacher doesn't much know the particulars of this kid, just that these are the kinds of things that a teacher comes to expect. The fine the kid gave was like a placeholder, mainly. A teacher comes back around later to delve a little deeper into how the kid might be doing today over and above the word fine. This time there's a conversation about what the kid would like to do today, how much accomplishment they would like to accomplish, a thing a teacher really despises asking because the root purpose of the question about accomplishments that a teacher has to ask every day is to record something or other anecdotally to support the notion that a teacher has a granular understanding of and window into the intellectual scenes happening in students' minds. Could, like, paint a thoroughly detailed and accurate tableau of what is happening in the thoughts and comprehensions of every student times every subject, that each student studies times the arbitrary number of lessons within that unit of that subject. Anecdotal data on the status of each discrete comprehension or understanding currently occurring in a universe of the classroom. Data that aggregates into larger data for that campus and larger data for that district and is quotiented out over a period of an academic year into chunks of assigned value that become everyone's paychecks, from administrators to teachers. That this data is what a teacher must come in hunt of when talking to the student creates this, like, invisible and impenetrable wall for both a teacher and the kid, who has not progressed to whatever point in their lesson the curriculum has decided qualifies as satisfactory, but who has, critically, come to a keen understanding of the need for this data on the part of the teachers. And that this is sort of the whole point of the song and dance every morning, the extraction of progress reports from offhand comments. The kid who has learned nothing in the eyes of the data knows quite thoroughly how and why the school dances this strange dance. The same school that pronounces through data that this individual kid is not intelligent. This is like, in a very concrete sense, the whimper that pronounces the end of the world and the abject failure of the Anthropocene. Somewhere in classrooms everywhere, kids congregate and tell stories. Stories that continue from texts into verbal words and hand signs and other kinds of cues that evolve subtly with each new kid who gets added to a classroom, and who ever so slightly shifts a classroom culture toward whatever cultural presence the kid themselves has and brings with them wherever they go. This inching around of culture is a thing a teacher can tell you everything about, that this or that kid has had this or that effect on the classroom culture, and that the corollary power of any kid to influence the delicate balance a teacher tries to maintain is immense and very real. All of it through stories. Stories that carry all of the weight of what emancipated learning can be about. Because with a story there is no teacher, there is no learned or intelligent mind. There is only first-hand experience meeting an attentive audience. For instance, this creek, this stone amphitheater. These are the places my nature club leader would take me and several of my friends every afternoon throughout our elementary lives. We'd have activities scheduled each day, I think, because I remember occasionally tramping down here from the playground, holding small green tadpole nets. and tramping back up the hillside with muddy, clay-caked shoes that would squish with every step. But most of the time there were no activities, there was just us here. Kids finding out what is in the woods, describing it to each other to figure out what we thought it all might be. I want to also tell you about running shoes. I used to run this creek in a brand of running shoes called Hoka One One. The thing about Hokas is that they're like ice cream for feet. Their sole purpose is to cushion feet to death. Feet drift off into catatonic bliss when wrapped in Hokas, numb from the softness and wake up gravely injured. Feet are very temporarily happy in Hokas, which is a small nice benefit a runner can get in exchange for now having sciatica and impacted knees and all manner of horrifically compounding injuries up and down the leg. Buy shoes that support the feet and that will leave you hobbled. I ditched my Hokas for Zeros. Zeros have almost zero anything. They are a 3mm molded piece of rubber below the foot and some fabric on top of the foot to keep the rubber in place. The feet do not need support. They have evolved over millennia to be self-supporting, to be able to run dozens of miles a day after herds of big game. Humans managed to teach each other to do things like this, not by explaining, but by telling stories. Mythology in one form or another has always been the thing most important to know in a culture, the set of stories a culture tells itself about what it is. The story of the ignorant schoolmaster tells us that when we support, when we help someone understand, we're creating learned deficiency. We're teaching students a faithlessness in their own abilities. A teacher cannot or does not teach anything, really. The stories the student finds on their own and stitches together to create meaning are the lessons that are truly learned. A teacher can give attention, a teacher can honor and treat as real the account the student gives of their learning. A teacher can hear the student while the student hears themselves speak the critical values into being. To Rancière, meaning is the work of the will, and this is the secret of universal teaching. What interests us is the exploration of the powers of any man when he judges himself equal to everyone else and judges everyone else equal to him. Binding all of this is the principle of veracity, which is at the heart of the emancipation experience. It is not the key to any science, but the privileged relation of each person to the truth.